Hello and welcome back to the Comic Lounge. So, welcome back to, of course, another Monday. Of course, I am here to show off some more recent additions to my comic collection. And this is going to be a much interesting one. So, on Thursday, I went and headed up to Reno to, of course, to be at least to be at the Grand Sierra to see Carcass, Cannibal Corpse right here, and Meshuggah. And so, going up to Reno to see these three bands, this gave me an opportunity to finally check out a comic book shop that I've been wanting to check out ever since one of the cashiers and so on, the people that work at the shop that I usually go to in Susanville, told me about. And so I really wanted to check this place out. And so on Friday, the day that I was going to be heading back here to Susanville, I had time to check this shop out. It is none other than the Comic Kingdom in Reno. And well, I picked up about at least 7 comics there. Some I've been wanting to get, and I just really had a great experience there. So when I came back, just really enjoyed looking through there, trying to stash the stuff. But then the next following day, Saturday, I received 2 new comic books in the mail. Of course, it shouldn't be any guess to which ones those are. We Spawn. But then on that same day of Saturday, I decided to take another little browse through the same shop that I usually go to here in Susanville, and picked up ones I've been eyeing on for a while here. And so I am left here with at least about 13 comics to go through. So without further ado, I'll see you after these. All right, so before I get into any of the stuff that I got in the mail and what I picked up what I picked up here in the shop in Susanville, let's get through the comic books that I found at the Comic Kingdom. And so I picked up, again, 7. So mainly what I was in there look for would be stuff like some Deathstroke related comic books, maybe some Punisher, some maybe Daredevil, whatever. But I came back with at least some cool ones. As again, I did find some Deathstroke. So speaking of Deathstroke, we'll get into this. Is basically all the DC Comics stuff that I'm going to show in this video here. And so here, this was one of the ones I definitely had to grab, and they had it here. I was going to get some other Deathstroke related ones, which are like mostly Titan related, but I only picked up one of them because I ended up finding a little more than I was. So I was trying to keep myself under a budget, at least somewhere under $20. I didn't want to spend too much. So, but I found these were ones I definitely was more than happy to find. So here we have is Deathstroke the Terminator issue number 2, which is just a very awesome, I would say almost close to another really iconic cover from Mike Zack. Really happy to find this one. Fairly good condition, $2. And again, it's still in the same bag. So again, there's the price tag. So I haven't done any sort of rebagging and boarding, whatever. I haven't switched. I'm waiting on at least some bags and boards already in the mail. So they'll be here within maybe a week, and I'll probably do a video of rebagging all this stuff. Anyways, again, so Deathstroke the Terminator issue number 2. This is basically the second part in the full cycle story, which spanned from at least issue number 1 through at least issue number 5. Could be 4, but I think it's about number 5. So there you go. Awesome pickup. Then of course, I ended up finding what would be the final Deathstroke comic with the Deathstroke the Terminator title. And it is again number 40. This was also another $2 grab. This was here we go, written by Stephen Grant and with, of course, artwork all done by Ed Hannigan. And this was a really awesome one. I'm finding it $2. This is pretty much the final Deathstroke comic under the Deathstroke the Terminator title before it would eventually change to Deathstroke the Hunted to kind of kick off that little story there, which spanned with number 0 and then into like what, number 43 or 44 or something like that, maybe 45, I think. Either way, there you have it there. Deathstroke the Terminator issue number 40. So 1994. So that's almost getting close to the end. And not quite, but it's close to the end of the run. And speaking of, here we go, speaking of the Titans, this is the only one I picked up because I'm mostly sticking with, screw that. Before I get into that Titans, I'll show this one. This was one I couldn't be more happier to find. But Green Arrow number 85. This is actually, again, this is one of the more Deathstroke related titles. I've been wanting to look for these. Mostly these are the only Green Arrow ones I really cared about getting. But this is definitely more like the second part, because it would be first 84, but they didn't have number 84, so I just went with this. Again, this was another $2 grab. Awesome. So, and this was actually written by Alan Grant. So Alan Grant writing this, and this is pretty much more of a team up between Green Arrow and Deathstroke, because this is still during that anti-hero phase for Deathstroke. Still, I couldn't pass up. We've been looking for this. Couldn't find it here in Susanville, but they're in Reno. Very good price. Finally, let's get into it. So this was the this is like early 2000s, but this is still kind of the final end of Deathstroke as like an anti-hero. But it is the Titans number 22. This is of course during when Phil Jimenez was the artist. So really awesome there. The Trial of Cheshire. So still, this was another $2 grab. So couldn't pass that up again for what it is. I just couldn't. Really, this is the period of Deathstroke that I'm mostly really fascinated with the most. So there you go. Titans number 22. So that's about all the DC related stuff that I picked up there. Now, this is one of the more interesting ones. So I saw like stuff for like Spider-Man. Well, this is the first one that obviously that I noticed, but it is Spectacular Spider-Man number 83, and the reason I couldn't, well, you're going to spot the character anyways. It's the Punisher. So, trying to find 80s Punisher, at least pre-series, like limited series or the ongoing series, any of those like pre-series Punisher, is not very easy for me to find here in Susanville. No one seems to really bring any of those type of titles here, so when I find something like this, I couldn't. And what makes this a cool find, besides just being a newsstand edition, is that this was actually the last appearance of the Punisher in a comic book until the limited series from Stephen Grant and Mike Zeck in 1986. So this was for at least close to 3 years. Punisher wouldn't show up in the period. Again, this is the infamous Trial of the Punisher issue, which I think was used as source material for Daredevil Season 2. This, of course, would have been right after number 82, which would have been the first battle between Kingpin and the Punisher, and also Cloak and Dagger. So this was a really cool one, and for a fairly good price, about $3, in pretty good condition. Not high grade, but it's definitely a really, really good upper mid-grade copy. So this was one I had to get. I had to grab this one. So yeah, any sort of 80s, or even if I were to find any like 70s Punisher, yeah, it's going to be an easy pickup. And speaking of some more 80s Punisher, since I've been also dipping my toes in some of the more early War Journal stuff, I found this here, and this is actually a newsstand variant, or newsstand edition, but it is Punisher War Journal number 11, because I have number 12 and 13, so here it is, number 11, which is Jim Lee and Klaus Janson. So, but again, it is a newsstand copy, and I got this one for about, again, $2 for this, too. Definitely a mid-grade copy for certain, but it's still very good, and I'm still happy to find this one. They have like a direct, but I wanted to take a chance on the newsstand because I don't really find a lot of newsstand Punishers very too often. And I'll get to another sort of newsstand Punishers as well. So Punisher War Journal number 11, just Jim Lee and Klaus Janson until 1989. So just still tail end of the 80s for Punisher. And here we go, last comic I picked up at the shop there in Reno at Comic Kingdom, and this was one I had to pick up. This was probably the priciest one I picked up at the shop. This was $4, and it's a direct edition it's like number 4 from the Chris Claremont run of the Man-Thing. It is Man-Thing number 4. And this is pretty much the first meeting between Man-Thing and Doctor Strange. Of course, Baron Mordo being the villain in the issue. This is actually more like a 2-part story between this issue and, of course, Doctor Strange number 41. But this was a direct edition. They had a newsstand copy, but the newsstand wasn't in that great a condition, which is fine because I think really early 80s new direct editions is where you want to be at if you're trying to collect at least some cool Marvel titles or DC titles. You know, if you want to collect stuff that might have some value, always go for the direct edition from the early 80s. So there you go, because they're like the less purchased. So not a high grade copy, but it's definitely a really good mid-tier copy. Very upper mid-tier copy. It's really good. And again, some small spine ticks, a little bit of wrinklings here and there like there, but it's not color breaking it. It's still a really good looking copy. So probably more like an 8.5 to an 8. Really good. Pass out again for $4. So that's about it. That's about all the comic books I picked up from the shop in Reno at Comic Kingdom. And so when I, obviously the next day after being in Reno, these showed up in the mail. These are the brand new issues of Spawn. It's his 363. So there it is. This was a copy that I pretty much purchased. At least I bought. So this was the Von Randall variant for the issue. This is also would be the first under, well, $3.99 now. $3.99. And I'm not going to get into any politics, but I know the exact reason why the price jumped. Well, I'm not going to get into that. So again, this was the Von Randall variant that I picked up. Well, because I had been supporting this eBay shop for quite a bit now, they threw in a free copy of it, and it will be the main variant, the Jordan Barons variant that they threw in for free. And of course, I got the note behind here, but I'm not going to show it because it's kind of personal. Still, this was for all my support, and so they threw in the Jordan Barons main cover variant. So I am getting 2 copies of 363, so that was really awesome. As you can tell, though there's a little bit of a tearing, I think, with the bag there. Again, I'm getting new bags and boards, so this is going to get replaced. So there you have it. That was really cool of them to do that. That was really cool to get a free version of Spawn 363. Okay, now let's finally get into the comic books that I picked up when I got back from Reno. This would have been Saturday again. And so I wanted to get these. So here we have is some Secret Wars. Again, here and there, they still had some of these there for $2. So I've been here and there from them, been picking up at least some of the Secret Wars. I got number 1, number 2, and then number 12. And so here I now have is number 3. And as you can see, I have yet to bag and board this one because I want to show for proof. They went by that price, so that's what I paid for. I paid about $2 for it. This is definitely a mid-tier copy anyways for Secret Wars number 3. But this is still a great find nonetheless. Again, a newsstand. And this was since I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, this is the first appearance for Volcana and the first appearance of the second Titania, Mary McFerrin. So there is definitely a couple first appearances in this issue. So this still is a key issue nonetheless. I think most of the Secret Wars anyways are keys, but this one's definitely a key one. So definitely very awesome. And then there's the back. So eventually I will put that in the bag and board, and they'll probably be showing the video anyways. And here we have, I wanted to make sure that I also grabbed it as number 11. So again, another newsstand copy. Right there. Again, $2. They honored that price. So $2 for that. This, of course, would have been showing the reveal anyways for Dr. Doom right there, since I have number 12, where he shows it right on the cover. There you have there. And as you can see, everybody, including even Professor Xavier, even walking. There you have that. Very awesome. And this was also there. I've been eyeing it. I wanted to grab it since for some more 80s Punisher. And speaking again of like Cloak and Dagger, after all the issues, the story, whatever that happened in number 82 of Spectacular Spider-Man, Punisher wanted to meet see if Cloak and Dagger were still up there to their old ways, especially with Kingpin. But it's a cool comic. It's Strange Tales number 14, which this was more like the 80s series. This would have been like basically mostly two stories. You get two stories, one story from Doctor Strange, and this one been him against like Shumagaroth. And then, of course, you get Cloak and Dagger. And in this one, again, it's the second part from number 13. Couldn't find number 13, but I know it's somewhere. It's not that expensive anyways. But again, with Punisher and Power Pack as well. But this one, of course, I paid for about $1.25. So a real good dollar fine. Finally, here we have this is the other Punisher newsstand that I was able to find. And when it comes to, let's say, finding stuff like 90s Punisher newsstands, they're not that easy for me to find so far. And I don't know how many of them exist because of Punishers in the 90s, like Punisher comics, weren't largely, I think, purchased from the newsstands compared to from the actual comic shop. But here we have is the newsstand edition for Punisher Warzone issue number 4. And this was a $5 grab. As you can see, that's the price that normally they go by at the shop here in Susanville, so they go by that. But they had, of course, the newsstand for it, and this was really cool to me because you don't really find a lot of Warzone issues in newsstand, and to find these is really something. I don't know if they're that rare, but I know they can be rare here and there. So this is really good looking though. This is almost pushing it to a 9.8. This is a very good looking copy. Not a key issue by any means, but it's still cool to find a Punisher Warzone comic in a newsstand form. So there you go. Because again, normally you find like direct editions. So there you have it. There's all the comic books that I could show off that I found at the shops I went to. This was really awesome. So if you have any sort of thoughts, whatever, any of the ones I showed, you can all leave them in the comment section below. But if you're still like, let's say, not sure with me with this channel and everything, but again, if this is what finally gets you to click that subscribe button, please do. You're never going to miss on any more new content. So with that, keep reading, keep collecting, and just keep on buying comics. Just enjoy the hobby. This is Heavy Thrashhead at the Thrash Head Comic Lounge saying I'm out. Take care, everybody.